here we are, folks, already the end of another week, the second to last build in day 5 of Projects Pack number 19, this time yet another Tommy Kaira build. Of course, I'm a huge fan of them, personally, and from what I could ascertain online, because it does seem a little bit obscure as to exactly all of the bits and bobs that they fitted to the car, but I got more of a general idea, and as I said, from what I could ascertain, it was the first major, aftermarket tuner car in Japan, I believe, to hit 350 horsepower, or something like that. It seems to me like you would have already had a 350 horsepower tuner car by this point, but I guess if what I read online was accurate at least. For this one, of course, you can change the colour if you're not a fan of the red, so you can use the player's livery and then just go into the editor and change it if you wanted to. I considered changing it to black, but I thought, you know what, we usually do black or like the dark blues on Tommy Kaira, so let's have the red for a change, and it is pretty iconic on this car. So, as far as the actual bits and bobs, you want your sports silencer. I've gone for the sports brake pads as well. It's got comfort softs, and I thought, you know what, let's just make a bit of a change. It is a road car, see if it's a bit more of a challenge, or if nothing else, a more usable point level, and just leave it on those. As it turns out, it's already pretty good on comfort soft, so I don't actually regret doing that. Of course, for you personally, you could go for whatever you want. We've got the high lift cams, just to double check on the ultimate section. We've got the titanium rods and pistons there, but you don't need to worry about, the higher cams or whatever cancelling the lower stuff out. So if we come back to the Club Sports section, the sports clutch and flywheel, as you can see, although I have done the pads, I haven't done the discs. Now, you could argue you may as well do it. And again, I'll leave it up to you. For this one, I wanted to make it, as I said, a little bit more modest on points, and as you can see, 517 is fairly low for a car that's as quick as this one should be, so like I said, there's no real reason why you can't fit the brakes if you want to, build it as you want. As far as the semi-racing stuff, we've got the ECU, of course the diff, the height-adjustable sports suspension. For the racing stuff, the polished ports, race intercooler. Obviously that is a bit too much technically compared to a real car, but it's just to get us up to the right horsepower level, spot on actually of 350 in this case. Nothing else for the racing stuff. For the extreme stuff, I've opted not to fit any of that either, and like I said, we've got the titanium rods and pistons, which again is of course overkill compared to real life, but in the game of course you have to get around cut some corners if you will, and kind of bend the rules a little bit sometimes to get the right numbers on the car. As far as the weight, I'm sure that information is out there somewhere, but as with some of the other aftermarket cars, I wasn't able to find an exact number, or at least a consensus on what the car should weigh, so I've basically left it pretty much as a standard ZX, and it doesn't seem like it's too crazy of a car in terms of weight loss anyway, so I'm assuming it probably is fairly similar. It could be a bit less, and of course if you are someone who is an aficionado of these cars, maybe you knew somebody who had one or something, then by all means correct me down below. As far as the weight goes, so, as far as the actual tuning, of course, we've got the comforts on there. For the suspension, 105mm, which is fairly low, but thankfully this one doesn't bottom out or get too heavy, at least with the current physics. You never know what it will be like in, 1.59, whatever they do next time. We've got 25 and 45 on the dampers, 2.10 on the springs, 1 degree of camber. Of course, with the sports suspension, you can't adjust the toe or the anti-roll anyway. As far as the diff, 10, 30 and 20. That feels pretty damn good to me, so I've just left it as is. As far as the transmission, of course, there was nothing there. Likewise with power restriction, we don't need to worry about any of that. For downforce, it is minimal on the front, so I've lowered it to the minimal amount on the rear as well. The wing is doing some work, but not a huge amount. And technically, if you want to lower the point level a bit more, of course, be careful of the handling with nothing on the front and a lot on the back, but you could raise the rear and get the point level even lower, as we've said before. And of course over here we didn't fit a huge amount, so this is a fairly simple aftermarket car. It's nowhere near as in-depth as something like a Mines Evo or something like that. So all that remains, as always, is to jump out to the track and show you what the car can do in practice. Now, even compared to other aftermarket versions of the 300ZX, this feels like it's not quite as crazy. 350 horses, 1500 kilos, if indeed it does weigh something like that at least, which to me online it looks like it should. That's not crazy. By today's standards, 350 horses is like a mild tune on a JDM car, whereas back then, of course, this must have been a big deal. At the time, this was considered more like a baby supercar. As far as Japan was concerned, of course, super heavy on the tech side of things, still has a massive fan following today, and this has to be one of the rarest versions. I mean, everything Tommy Kaira does is ultra rare, and it's part of the reason why I love them so much. They're kind of oddball, they're different, they're super rare, and they have more of that exotic kind of feel to me than some of the other aftermarket brands. that's it for this particular build. Very mild one overall, more like a collector's piece, if you will, to add to your aftermarket collection. And to me, the way this looks, the spec, and certainly the way it drives, kind of feels like it would have been in Gran Turismo 2. And at least, speaking for myself, I can totally see this car with those really pixelated, graphics back in Gran Turismo 2. It looks like it would have been in the game. And you can already imagine in your mind the bright red with the blocky white lines down the side. I hope you enjoy it if you decide to use it. Of course, you will need a ZX in order to do it, so you'll have to wait if you haven't got one already in the used car dealer. And like I said, there's only one build left. This time we've left a pretty significant one until last, the Aston Vantage GT4, so check that one out later on today. And of course, if you're new to the channel, there's plenty more special projects for you to check out as well. But I'll see you next time, and thanks for watching.